Tonight on KGW News, the big loss to an Oregon town after this major employer goes up in flames. Plus, a thief breaks into a local nonprofit, taking thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
I just feel violated.
Then he came back for more. And later, new support for firefighters who sacrifice so much and end up getting sick.
There are very few things more traumatizing to a firefighter family than the words, "You have cancer."
Your news starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. We start with breaking news where Russian troops have launched an attack on Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the action comes in response to threats coming from Ukraine. Alice Barr is in Washington, D.C. with the latest.
Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordering a military operation in eastern Ukraine. Explosions heard in Kyiv, Ukraine's capital city. New satellite images showing Russian equipment and a field hospital close to the Ukraine border. Ukraine's president imposing a national state of emergency tonight and appealing directly to the Russian people in a bid to avoid war. For the second time this week, the United Nations Security Council holding an emergency meeting after the Kremlin said Russian-backed separatists in eastern Ukraine had appealed for military help in what could be a pretext for a broader invasion. NBC News correspondent Richard Engel witnessing firsthand the attacks coming into Ukraine from separatist regions where Russian President Vladimir Putin already deployed troops. The Biden administration leveling new sanctions against the Russian company behind a lucrative natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany that Germany announced yesterday it was halting. That's on top of sanctions President Biden already laid out against two large Russian banks and elites. Amid bipartisan calls for tougher measures, Vice President Kamala Harris defending the response.
If Russia goes further, we will impose more costs.
Despite global pressure, President Putin moving ahead tonight, declaring Russia's security interests unconditional. Tomorrow morning, President Biden will speak with top allies in the G7 group of nations about the crisis in Ukraine. Senators also getting a briefing tomorrow on the quickly developing situation. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We spoke tonight to the pastor at the Ukrainian Baptist Church in Vancouver just after he learned of the attack.
We are broken tonight. Our people start to live a free life. They learn how to do that. And now it is like Putin tried to return back to Soviet Union.
The pastor's family lives in Kiev. We got to speak briefly with his brother-in-law as well. They heard bombs going off about 3 miles from their home.
We see panicked people. We see big lines at the petrol stations. We see big lines in also shops, because actually up until a few hours ago, actually no one believed that Russians could really do it.
The Ukrainian Bible Church is planning a special prayer service for this coming Sunday at its location in Fairview. In the meantime, they've collected medical and other supplies, but say there is no way to reliably send them to Ukraine right now. Here at home, amid a violent week, a bizarre twist in one of Portland's recent deadly shootings. Investigators believe the man responsible for a deadly shooting in North Portland is the brother of convicted murderer Jeremy Christian. Christian is in prison, serving multiple life sentences for the infamous 2017 mass stabbings. Now, the district attorney is looking at whether to charge his brother with this recent homicide. Here's Maggie Vespa.
The district attorney's office confirms David Christian is, as they put it, the individual involved in last week's fatal shooting of Zachary Moore. And Willamette Week is reporting David Christian is the brother of convicted murderer Jeremy Christian. Jeremy Christian is currently serving multiple life sentences for the deadly mass stabbings of 2017, an attack that left 2 men dead and a 3rd wounded. Well, now it's his brother who may be charged in a different crime, the shooting death of Zachary Moore. Last Wednesday, police said Moore was gunned down in North Portland's St. John's neighborhood. Moore's family already wanted the DA to pursue charges against David Christian, but now, knowing about this connection to the deadly Max attack, Moore's mom is baffled.
I did not know that. Yeah. I just found this out right now. Oh my gosh. So that's really scary for my grandchildren, you know? So that's really scary, and that makes me wonder why the police would let him go.
So she mentioned police letting him go. Why no arrest at this point? Well, the DA isn't commenting, but Moore's family says David Christian told investigators that he and Moore knew people in common, and that on the night of the shooting, Zachary Moore pushed someone. They say Christian claims he shot Moore to defend the other person. Now, Moore did have a history of violent charges, but the family says Moore was a new dad, and they don't believe he would have been violent that night. We have reached out to David Christian and the Christian family. No response. We'll let you know if that changes. As for Jeremy Christian, he is currently at Two Rivers Correctional Institution in Umatilla, serving multiple life sentences for the 2017 Max attack. I'm Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
You can get really caught up in the sadness of it all, but I think that it's important once you are able to move through those stages of grief. It's really important to cherish your loved ones and feel grateful.
Tonight, the Sherwood community held a vigil for an 11-year-old and a 16-year-old who died in a horrific crash. People gathered at Cannery Square at 7 o'clock tonight to remember them. The girls died when an SUV struck them as they walked to the store Sunday night. Multiple online fundraisers identified the two girls as 11-year-old Amelia Green and 16-year-old Eliana, Amelia's brother's girlfriend. At Clancy's Pub, where Amelia's mother used to work as a bartender, there's a jar where they're collecting donations to do what they can to help out. Owner Alan Bauer talked today to Maggie for the first time since the crash.
There are no words that you can console somebody in this situation. So it's, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing her and giving her a big hug.
I just can't figure out how the accident happened. The girls were walking this way and the guy come on the other side of the street and hit them.
The last update from police said the driver was cooperating. And this afternoon, a memorial for the victims continued to grow with messages of sorrow and of hope. The Green family said they plan to hold a memorial service this coming Friday, which will be open to the public. New tonight, a Portland nonprofit was broken into not once, but twice. The suspect was caught on camera as he got away with thousands of dollars in property. Catherine Cook has the story.
And I think it must have been the hardest for them to break into.
For Rachel Murfitt, caring for others is top of mind.
We have volunteer mentors that come in.
She works at Compassion Connect on Southeast 122nd near Division. The nonprofit coordinates medical care, helps churches serve their neighborhoods, and runs an anti-trafficking ministry.
I couldn't have a more rewarding job.
It's why she's so crushed by this. Security video captured early Saturday morning shows a man with red pants after breaking into their building and stealing a lot of valuables.
We could see him using our hand truck and carrying our stuff up the ramp.
The next morning, the guy came back. This time, he brought a friend with a car.
And so they loaded up a bunch more stuff.
He stole a large TV, computers, printers, and even a brand new defibrillator and oxygen tanks.
We had all the locks changed late that night, and thankfully we did, because he came back again on Monday morning and tried the keys that he had taken from our office here.
He didn't get in, but they're already over $10,000 in damages.
It's pretty discouraging.
The stolen medical equipment was going to be used for their community-run health and dental clinics. They have one planned for this weekend. The fact that they're just trying to help people makes what happened hurt even more.
You know, if he had just come to us and asked for help, we would have done what we could to help him. So it's really sad that instead he would choose to come in and try to hurt us and damage us.
Police are investigating. Murfitt hopes this video and tips from the public will help identify the crook. She's also grateful for those stepping up with donations. They have no plans to stop serving and loving others.
We had all the supplies from that program in this cabinet here.
In Southeast Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
That is just so maddening, isn't it? Let's talk about the weather. It's another freezing cold night out there. Let's get a first check on the weather from Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino. Matt, how cold is it going to get out there tonight? I don't know if you can hear him, but I can't hear him. Turn that mic on. It's cold. It's so cold. It's frozen Matt's mic.
Answer your question. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Good. It'll be about as cold as it was last night. Sun going down with a clear sky, but things are beginning to change. And for that, we'll look north. Doppler radar. There's light snow falling across the San Juan Islands, down towards Seattle, up towards Bellingham, and that is headed south our way. So the cloud cover that's coming in will help to keep the temperatures a couple degrees warmer, but we're still looking at temperatures in the 20s and another couple cold days. More on this in just a bit, Laurel. Back to you.
Thank you, Matt. We'll check with you in just a few minutes. As the Oregon legislature enters its final weeks of the short session, we're starting to see some of the results of their work. And one of the bills passed just today expands protections for firefighters who are diagnosed with cancer. Alma McCarty takes a closer look as this bill now heads to the governor. Alma?
Well, cancer is a leading cause of firefighter deaths in the United States, and right now, Oregon workers' compensation law already protects firefighters for many kinds of cancer, but not all of them.
In times of need, they are there, ready to respond no matter the situation or emergency.
We don't have a choice of what we go into. If something's on fire or someone's in need, we respond.
For 22 years, Dacia Graber has answered that call, serving her community as a firefighter full-time. Her husband, also a firefighter, is a cancer survivor. Now, as a representative for House District 35, Graber hopes to protect her fellow firefighters across the state with House Bill 4113.
There are very few things more traumatizing to a firefighter family than the words, "You have cancer." It turns your whole world upside down, and for the families that will have to face this is one step that could make it just a little bit easier.
As a leading cause of death among firefighters, Oregon's workers' compensation law already protects them for many kinds of work-related cancers, including male reproductive cancers. House Bill 4113 expands worker compensation to address gaps in coverage for firefighters, adding bladder and female reproductive cancers to that list. Representative Graber explains younger firefighters are being diagnosed more frequently with bladder cancer. And as the field pushes for more equity and diversity, she said it was important this legislation cover female reproductive cancers.
Cancer, and I'm trying to get emotional about this, it's a slow motion explosion. So it's these cumulative effects that you face as a firefighter, and whether that's coming from the gear we wear, the toxins we're exposed to, just, the lifestyle, the being up 24 hours, and there's a lot. So we're trying to figure out more about why are we getting sick. But it's cumulative. And when you're at the funeral of someone who's 49 years old and died of brain cancer, it's absolutely, it's gut-wrenching.
Opponents to the bill representing a workers' compensation insurance company argued early on in public testimony that certain cancers aren't caused by firefighting. However, the Firefighter Protection legislation had overwhelming bipartisan support, passing the Senate unanimously on Wednesday. Alma McCarty, KGW News.